Welcome to the Dr. Mudgil podcast. This is episode 206, and October is almost behind us. We got Halloween coming up this weekend. Daylight savings time is also coming up this weekend. Gentle reminder for anyone who has to set their clocks back an hour, fall back, spring forward. Fall is officially in the air. It's cold. I mean, not cold, but relatively cold compared to summer. It is appropriate fall weather, so sweater season, which is nice. I am enjoying that. The leaves are looking beautiful on the trees, and they're starting to fall, and it's a very beautiful time of the year here in the Northeast, and just savoring it. Another season has passed, and they're just passing by faster and faster as my hairs get grayer and grayer. But that's just the story of life. Had a good weekend and a good week so far. It's starting to pick up again in the office. There's like a little lull in September a little bit here in New York, just especially towards the end of the month because of all the Jewish holidays, etc. And then kind of like now it kind of picks up steam and carries through the main holidays. So it's a busy time of year, and we're enjoying it. So let's get into the crux of what we're going to talk about today. So I saw as you guys know, like I post to various social media platforms a bunch. And then, I usually I'm not really on the platforms as much, although I will say I have been on X a little bit more lately than ever, really. But usually like when I'm on like TikTok or Instagram, I don't really scroll. I just kind of like post, make sure it looks okay. I do all the posts myself. And I'll like maybe scroll like a little bit, just to kind of see what's going on, just while I'm waiting for my post to upload or whatever the case may be. And, a lot of I guess it kind of depends like where your mindset is and the things that you think about. But, a lot of the posts that I see and the way these algorithms work on these social media pages, as I'm sure you all know, is, the content that you interact with, the stuff that you like or maybe comment on, that's the stuff that populates your feed, right? So like my Instagram feed is like basically professional basketball, football. I follow, my daughter goes to the University of Virginia, and I'm like an avid fan of their sports because she's there, and it's just like, a void I'm filling in my own life because I didn't have that when I was in college. So, UVA football, who are having an amazing year, another big win this weekend. All of them are sort of like these nail biters, but we pulled it out again. We beat UNC, so 15th ranked team in the nation, and we got couple big games coming up. So anyways, that's the kind of stuff that populates my feed. So I get a lot of, now that the NBA has started, I get a lot of like NBA posts and whatever the great highlights were of the night before, the Wemby dunks and all that sort of stuff. And there was a post by, so there's an amazing player named VJ Edgecombe. And, as I mentioned, there's a pretty elite basketball high school, or I should say an elite basketball high school pretty close to my home. And my boys who are like really, really into basketball, they're younger, I have one who's a sophomore in high school and one who's in 8th grade, but they, they're involved with a camp at the school called LUHI, Long Island Lutheran High School, which has they have an amazing team that, a lot of the players go on to play D1 basketball and some even go on to play professional basketball. And, it's a great, it's great for my boys to be able to interact with some of these players who later go on to become professional basketball players or D1 college basketball players because they're involved with the camp. My older son was a counselor at the camp this year. And because they're sort of affiliated, they don't go to that school, but because they participate with some of the summer stuff that goes on in that school, they've aligned themselves with some of the trainers for the basketball team, and they do some like independent, skills training, that sort of stuff with some of the LUHI coaches. And it's been an amazing resource for them. It's been amazing for the development of their game, and it's just fun for a dad, watching my boys play ball. But there was a player there named VJ Edgecombe, and he went to school. He's from the Bahamas, and then he went to school originally like in 9th and 10th grade, or maybe just 9th grade at a private school in Florida, and then he transferred to LUHI either his sophomore year or his junior year, and he was just like a lights out player. He was like a 5-star recruit. He was a McDonald's All-American player. And he played for Baylor. He was a one and done, and he was the third round. He was the third pick in the first round. So he was the number 3 pick in the 2025 NBA draft. And he's just been lights out. He was drafted by the Philadelphia 76ers, and his first game, he dropped, I think, like 34 points, which is like the highest ever for an NBA debut for the Sixers. So like, as a frame of reference, like Allen Iverson dropped 30 points in his first game with the Sixers. So this kid is something special. And You can imagine, after the games when they have their sort of media hour and like the reporters are interviewing them, etc. He's getting a lot of attention because he's a rookie and he's an amazing player, an explosive player. It's really, really, really fun to watch. And just like, a little, just like I said, my sons had interacted with him a bit, especially my older son, I think, at Lehigh when he was there. I think both my sons did because they were both there for the camp. So it's a little bit, it's kind of cool that this guy is dominating in the NBA, and my son's kind of, they've met him before and have interacted with him and seen him play, that sort of stuff. So it just brings his success a little bit closer to home, and you can kind of relate and relish in the success of this amazing young man. But as I was mentioning, he gets interviewed a bunch, after the games because he had a great game. Hey, whatever the questions are that the sports writers are asking him. But one of the questions that he was asked, and I think this was last night, was, you have a couple of big games coming up where you're going to be going up against, some of the other top draft picks in the 2025 draft. So, it was like Cooper Flagg was number 1, Dylan Harper was number 2, VJ Edgecombe was number 3, and then, on and on and on. And all of them are great players, and, all of them are playing against each other. And the question was essentially like, how you're going to be up against these other top draft picks, and how are you going to be comparing yourself to them, and kind of like getting in his head a little bit. And he's only 20 years old, by the way, and the line that he said was, comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is the thief of joy. And that's a pretty wise statement for someone who's just 20 years old. And he went on to say, like, listen, basically my goal is not comparing myself to how the other players are doing, because, all of these other players are amazing players and they're playing on great teams with a bunch of other great players. And all I'm really focusing on is helping my team win. And, again, comparison is the thief of joy. I'm not, if someone had, 35 points and I had 34 points, that's not where my head is. My head's at, I'm trying to do the best I can, play the best I can to help my team win. And that's actually why I love team sports, actually, because it is the success of the collective that really matters the most. Obviously individual success contributes to that collective success, but what's more important is the collective success of the team versus, one player's individual success. And that's kind of what he was alluding to. But bigger than that, I think the bigger takeaway, at least for me, because this is something that I do think about a lot, is, all of us, all of our journeys individually on this planet are one of one. We all are walking. No one else walks in the feet that we walk in. No one experiences the things that we do. And, our experiences are kind of unique to us, like the way we interact with our environment, with other people, with, travel, with going to a concert, with viewing art. Like, each of these are very individual experiences, and they're all unique. Like, everyone has their own unique perspective. And it's very easy, because the way the world works from the outside looking in, it's all about comparisons, statistics, like especially for professional athletes. Like, okay, this guy had averaged 35 points, this guy averaged 30 points, this many rebounds. And it's easy, especially for like a youngster. I mean, this kid, literally a kid, is 20 years old. I'm like 30 years older than this amazing basketball player, which is crazy to me, because I don't feel as old as I am. But anyways, it's such a wise comment, because especially for like a youngster, it's really easy to get lost in those comparisons. It's easy to get down on yourself. But like the takeaway that I got from this is like a comparison. So say you're averaging 20 points and someone else is averaging 30 points. It's not that you get down on yourself. Like you kind of set that as your goal. Hey, I want to try to do that so I can help my team better. Like, the comparisons you make are to better yourself, to set goals for yourself. When I'm around folks who are fitter than I am, or smarter than I am, or more successful than I am, or whatever comparison you want to make, and these are sort of just arbitrary things that I said. That serves to me as like motivation. It's not like, oh, I wish I had that. It's like, oh wow, that exists in this world, and that's something that I would like to. That's someone I would like to be more like, or someone that I would like to emulate a bit. And for me, that becomes a goal. It's like, okay, like that is possible in this world. There's someone that I know that has achieved this amazing thing that I think is awesome. And I would like some of that in my world. And then you start reverse engineering it for yourself, because you're comparing yourself with yourself. The goal is to be a better version of yourself tomorrow than you are today. And that's why I always talk about stacking your daily wins. Do the one thing every day you need to do to get yourself one step closer to whatever your goal may be. And you may have multiple goals. Like, for me, I want to love my family. I want them to feel the love that I have for them because they are my world. So that says, you say you love you to your kids. Get that hug in when you can, a little kiss on the cheek or a kiss on the top of the head. Those little things make a difference because, every day, you build on that love that you're creating. Same thing with my professional life. I want to do the best I can taking care of my patients. I want to do the best I can with the pathology work that I do. And, I put in whatever I need to do to get that daily win for the success of my practice, for the health of my patients, etc. Going back to my personal life, fitness, I'm very attentive to my diet, my workout regime, and I do whatever I need to do every day. And sometimes that's taking a rest day, but I do everything I need to do to move the needle closer to what my goal is, which is being jacked and ripped. That's the goal that I have every year. Like I always want to be bigger than I was the year before and leaner than I was the year before. And, so I try to move the needle in that direction by stacking daily wins. And I love that phrase, comparison is the thief of joy, because comparison is the thief of joy if you allow it to be the thief of joy. For me, and what I think a better way to use comparison is, you should use it to motivate you. Use it to set goals for yourself and dig into the amazing potential that exists within each and every one of us. And once you achieve a goal, it's so fulfilling and empowering that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe, I was working at this for a year and wow, I'm here. I'm like, I've achieved the goal that I've been the stacking wins for the last 12 months. And then it's so empowering because you're like, okay, now I can set a bigger and better goal for myself because I have tapped into the amazing potential that lives inside of me and that lives inside of you. So I hope you use comparison in the way that I described. Don't let comparison steal your joy. Let it motivate you to be the best version of yourself that you could possibly be. And with that, I hope you all have a wonderful, restful weekend and just ready to crush the week ahead. Let's get it.